Cleopatra. The very name is a spell. More than 2,000 years after her reign, she is still remembered as the woman who bent the two greatest men of Rome to her will. Was she the most beautiful woman in history? Historians suggest not, yet she is remembered as one of the most dangerous. Why? Because Cleopatra understood something most women never master. Seduction is not about beauty. Seduction is about power. Let us begin with the paradox. Caesar and Antony commanded armies, conquered nations, and bent empires to their knees, yet both fell at the feet of one woman. How? Cleopatra wielded seduction not as a pastime, but as a political weapon. She used allure as strategy, intimacy as diplomacy, and presence as her throne. The first lesson. Seduction is theater. Cleopatra was not passive. She staged herself. When she first met Julius Caesar, she did not simply walk into his presence. She had herself smuggled into the palace, rolled inside a carpet, only to be unrolled at his feet. Imagine the impact. A woman risking everything, appearing in secrecy, yet radiating boldness. It was not her beauty that conquered him in that moment. It was her audacity. Understand this. Men are not conquered by looks alone. They are conquered by spectacle. Cleopatra understood the psychology of theater. A dramatic entrance, a gesture of daring, an aura of mystery. These pierce deeper than beauty because they strike the imagination. And once you live inside a man's imagination, you never leave. Second lesson. Seduction is intelligence disguised as intimacy. Cleopatra was multilingual. She spoke the languages of diplomacy. She understood mathematics, philosophy, statecraft. But she did not overwhelm men with raw intellect. She cloaked it in charm. She allowed Caesar to feel he was guiding her, even as she guided him. She allowed Antony to believe he was leading, even as she directed the dance. This is where most women go wrong. They either suppress their intelligence, playing helpless, which breeds contempt, or they flaunt their intelligence in a masculine way, which breeds competition. Cleopatra's genius was to wrap strategy in softness. She seduced while she negotiated. She caressed while she conquered. Third lesson. Seduction is scarcity. Cleopatra never allowed herself to be ordinary. She knew that if she was accessible to everyone, she would be valued by no one. She reserved herself for emperors, for rulers. She elevated her worth by restricting access. Men did not choose Cleopatra casually. They aspired to her. To be chosen by her was itself a crown. This is what women today forget. They flood men with attention, with constant presence, with emotional overexposure. Cleopatra rationed herself. She made intimacy rare, and what is rare becomes priceless. Finally, understand this. Cleopatra was not loved because she was submissive. She was loved because she was sovereign. She was a queen first, a lover second. Men were drawn to her because she could stand beside them, not beneath them. To Caesar, she offered Egypt. To Antony, she offered an empire. She did not say, "Pursue me because I am beautiful." She said, "Choose me, and you rule the world." That is the highest form of seduction, when being with you elevates a man's own sense of power. In the second half of this video, we will dissect her techniques more deeply, the Machiavellian mechanics of how Cleopatra used allure as a weapon of state, and most importantly, how you can apply her strategies in your own world, not to conquer nations, but to conquer respect, loyalty, and influence. Let's break down Cleopatra's arsenal into timeless principles every high-value woman can adapt. Because, while you may not be facing Roman generals, you are facing men, rivals, and environments that demand strategy. 1. Stagecraft. Make every entrance a coronation. Cleopatra never entered a room. She arrived. Whether being unrolled from a carpet before Caesar or sailing to meet Antony on a golden barge with purple sails, she understood the theatre of presence. Ask yourself, do you walk into a man's life quietly, or do you arrive in a way he will never forget? Every woman has the power of theatre in how she dresses, how she speaks, how she controls timing. Use it. 2. Wrap power in femininity. Men of power often feel threatened by women who fight them with the same weapons. Cleopatra chose another path. She disguised sharp intellect in softness. She never argued like a rival. She seduced like a confidant. This disarms resistance. When you wrap power in allure, men accept guidance as if it were their own idea. This is not weakness. This is camouflage. 3. Reserve yourself for kings. Cleopatra did not scatter her presence. She was deliberate. Her lovers were not ordinary men. They were rulers of the known world. By being selective, she increased her perceived value. The lesson: scarcity creates demand. Do not flood the marketplace with your attention. Choose carefully, and in turn, you will be chosen reverently. 4. Seduction as alliance, not dependency. Understand the difference. Most women use seduction to cling. Cleopatra used seduction to elevate. She offered Caesar not just herself, but Egypt's loyalty. She offered Antony not just pleasure, but an empire. She tied intimacy to value. In your world, this means aligning your allure with what you bring beyond romance: intelligence, resources, insight, presence. Make men feel that choosing you expands their kingdom. 5. Sovereignty. First, lover second. Cleopatra never abandoned her throne. Even in the arms of emperors, she remained queen. This is why she was never forgotten. If you dissolve into a man, he may love you briefly, but he will discard you easily. If you remain sovereign, he will orbit you endlessly, because your power enhances his own. 6. The power of imagination. Seduction is not about what you give, but about what you suggest. Cleopatra understood this perfectly. Mystery fuels obsession. Reveal enough to intoxicate, but never enough to satisfy. Let men dream, wonder, speculate. What they imagine is always more powerful than what they know. Now, why does this matter for you today? Because seduction is still the most underestimated weapon in a woman's arsenal. The modern world teaches women to compete like men, to shout louder, to prove harder, to fight openly. But Cleopatra shows another path: to win not by force, but by influence, to seduce not for validation, but for power. And here lies the Machiavellian truth: beauty fades, but strategy endures. Cleopatra was not remembered as the most beautiful woman, but as the most unforgettable. Because beauty charms the eye, strategy conquers the mind. So ask yourself, will you live as decoration, admired and discarded? Or will you live as Cleopatra did, a woman who turned allure into empire, intimacy into strategy, seduction into sovereignty? The choice is yours. But remember this, the world never forgets the woman who masters seduction as a weapon of power.